This is me. This is my beloved wife, Sylvia. This is Sylvia's idea of sailing. This is my dream of sailing and my hope of circumnavigating the globe as a retirement project in 2029. This is Sylvia's reaction to that idea.
What? You got a plan?
I am on a 6-year quest to convince Sylvia that a circumnavigation is a wonderful adventure, but the clock is ticking, so join me as I search for the perfect yacht that Sylvia will love, and get all your ladies to subscribe and cheer Sylvia on in the comments. Welcome back to Naval Gazing at Camp David. As you can see, we're in a tropical mood today because it is glorious here in Vancouver. This week, we're heading up to northwest Germany for some Monohull heresy with a look at Hanse's latest launch, the Hanse 510. Today we will 1. Review its specifications, pricing, and layout against 3 similar new vessels. 2. Do a full tour asking what would Sylvia say. 3. Naval gaze at all the innovations and technologies that might make living aboard just a little easier. 4. Have a look at the used market for 3 to 5 year old pre-owned comparables. And 5. Give it a Dave score and compare the results with all our previously reviewed yachts. As always, all this fun will be sandwiched between a pairing of wine and a work of art from the same region as the guest yacht, in an effort to capture the culture and people who gave birth to these wonderful vessels. Waves, wine, art, and ideas. What a civilized way to spend 30 minutes. So let's get going. From high above Vancouver, we head east across North America and the Atlantic to the west coast of France and the home of last week's future yacht, the wildly innovative Mod X70. From here, we head northeast to Germany in the yards of Hanse, producer of this week's guest yacht, the Hanse 510. Finally, we hop southwest to the vineyards of this week's wine pairing, St. Urban's Off Moselle Old Vines 2019 Riesling. Founded in 1947, Nick Weiss St. Urban's Off has become one of the most important and classic wineries in the Moselle region. Since 2000, the Riesling winery is a member of Germany's renowned VDP, Association of German Quality Wine Estates. The approximately 45 hectares of vineyards stretch for around 60 kilometers along the Moselle and Saar rivers and are cultivated in a traditional manner in harmony with nature. 5 of the prestigious individual crus in which world-class Rieslings grow are classified as wines from the Great Sites, VDP Grosslaag. The wines are fermented exclusively with indigenous yeasts. 91 points, wine enthusiast. Sun-struck yellow peaches and nectarines are dusted with slate and sea salt in this invigorating off-dry Riesling. Light on its feet and equal parts fruit and earth, it's a zesty, nuanced sip that finishes long and smoky. Oh, summer in a glass. Let's go have a look at that boat. Cheers. Looking at this week's yacht, she's a handsome vessel with that reverse bow on it. They've really highlighted that in the new designs, and it looks gorgeous and aggressive. Lots of space for entertaining and outside in the sun fun. Beautiful swim platform there and a huge cockpit, nice and open, easy to get around to the side decks. All single level sort of operation, all of your stuff back to the aft helms there. And the really neat thing is that dinghy garage with the integrated little crane it's got that whips it out there really nicely for you. A very cool design. Looking at our new comparables today, we are looking at the Hanse 510, the Dufour 530, the Moody 48DS, very innovative in and of itself, and the gorgeous classic Nator's Swan 48. You can see in the outside and the profiles here, they're all sexy. The Moody obviously looks a little heavier set because of the high freeboard and the deck saloon, the very predominant deck saloon, and that sort of innovative one-level living on a monohull. almost like a catamaran. But I mean, all of them have an absolutely gorgeous profile. You can see the reverse bow. Hanse 510 is the only one with it, and their new Hanse 590 also shows that off. Heading on to the decks themselves, look at the sheer size of space you have in the Hanse 510 cockpit area. Absolutely massive. None of the others are really even close to it. And a huge, open, spacious, multi-level deck area out front there. Lots of area for sun pads and sunshades. The Dufour 530, a little smaller aft cockpit. That sort of innovative, very aft central sun lounge that also has an integrated barbecue kitchen center in it. And then, of course, the Moody 48DS. You're basically looking at the top of the cabin, and this gives us another level of living, which we'll see in the layouts here. You've got that retractable sea top in the aft there, which is really nice. Now, bear in mind, a Hanse 510 also offers their beautifully executed hard top sea top with that retractable center section. Hanse really does a beautiful job on that. And Nator, a very big cockpit for a vessel this size. It's 48 feet, so a little smaller than the Hanse 510 with almost the same amount of space in there. And then not as large a foredeck here because you've got a lot more space down below. In this particular scenario, odd for the monohull section, we do have 4 slides here because we have to now go to the interior main deck level on the Moody 48DS just to see your eating area and your galley area, which are all on the main floor, as you already know. There's even window defrosters in the forward section of this main saloon here. Next, we're going to go down into the rest of the boats here where you've got both saloon and galleys and sleeping quarters. So the Hanse 510, you can see you do have that nice aft indoor garage. You've got the typical twin aft cabin setup. And now, something that they're going to a little more aggressively, you'll see it in the new 590 as well, where you've got the galley on the starboard side, almost reminiscent of the Beneteau 62, Yacht 62. They get away with it quite nicely. I'm not a fan of this in general, but something in the way they're spreading it out, they do a nice job with it in this particular design. You'll know what I mean when we get inside. And then going forward, you have a beautiful master suite. You've got a whole bunch of different variations to this, especially on the port side or the starboard side there. In this one, we're showing a little settee. You can have a desk there. You can have just all stowage there. But nice dry shower. Everything's there. It's quite comfortable. The Dufour 530, again, very pseudo classic. You've got the twin aft cabins. You've got the traditional saloon sort of dinette on the port side, and then another seating area on the starboard side, and then you have the forward galley full beam, which I really do quite like. Your forward owner's suite is quite nice, quite spacious. Moody 48DS, haven't been on board it yet, was just on the 54DS. Excited about this boat because they've done a lot of unique things here. Obviously, you've got your aft garage there with that same crane system that Hanse is using in their 510 and indeed in their 590 now. What you've got here now down below, you'll note on the port side, you've got that big open area with a whole bunch of stowage. You basically got a walk-in closet along the port side heading aft from your owner's berth there. Absolutely huge. And then into, I guess, a utility or multifunctional area. Now, you can populate this with twin beds, with double beds. You can leave it open, as I have here, and then just have yourself the nice queen size on the starboard side. This is the way I would lay out, so I had lots of flex space on that port side, which you rarely have in a monohull. Heading over to the Nator Swan, again, very traditional. So you've got your aft areas there with twins on the starboard and double on the port side. Typical location for your galley, and then you've got your C-shaped dinette and your twin easy chairs on the starboard side, and a very ample forward owner's suite. And of course, the finish in the Natur Swan is absolutely gorgeous. Okay, let's hop into some numbers here and have a quick look. So heading across the top line, you're going to see your Hanse and your Dufour very close. 472, 900 on the Hanse, 429 on the Dufour, 530. The Moody takes a big jump up to 864, 900. Again, this is euros, and of course, Natur Swan, we'd expect it just shy of €1 million. And then looking at the length overall, as far as that goes, the longest we're looking at here is the Dufour 530 at 53.64 feet, followed closely by the Hanse 510 at 52.4 feet. Then it's the Swan at 51.77 and the Moody at 50.7. The beam on these, it's the Dufour again at 16.37 feet, followed by the Hanse at 16.11. Then it's the Moody at 15.11, and finally the Swan just a hair behind at 15.06. Draft on these, your shallowest draft is going to be the Moody at 7.1 feet, followed by the Dufour at 7.55, then the Swan at 7.87, and finally the Hanse, the deepest, at 7.97 feet. As far as the lightship displacement goes, it is the Swan at 33,070 pounds, or 15 tons. And that is followed by the Hanse at 36,464 pounds, or 16.54 tons. Then you've got the Dufour at 39,185 pounds, or 17.8 tons. And finally, the Moody, the heavy girl here, at 46,650 pounds, or 21.16 tons. Upwind sail area, looking across here, it's the Swan at 1,464 square feet, followed by the Moody at 1,409 square feet, then the Hanse at 1,378, and finally the Dufour at 1,310. The engines, all about the same. You've got Hanse at 80 horsepower, the Moody's the most powerful at 110, then Hanse at 80, Dufour at 75, and the Swan at 75. As far as capacities go, in the lead, it's really the Moody at 150 gallons of fuel and 202 of water, and then everybody else is much of the same after that. Okay, getting into the technical details, of course, it's, as usual, difficult to find the things that matter to us, that being interior area, exterior area, interior enclosed storage, exterior locker volume. I was able to find fridge and freezer capacity on the Dufour and the Swan, and between them, it's the Swan with 172 liters of fridge and 30 liters of freezer, and then the Dufour at 145 liters of fridge and 50 liters of freezer. Looking across at the hulls, it's closer than you might think. Obviously, the Swan has probably the best hull. It's a foam cord, glass fiber, reinforced vinyl ester hull construction, and the hull bottom is monolithic, so pure vinyl ester. Here's a surprise, though. Your Hanse and your Moody are both pure vinyl ester boats as well. The big difference being it's a balsa core as opposed to a foam core, and there are arguments for and against that. Dufour is polyester and glass with a solid hull below the waterline. Looking at battery bank capacity as we head across, it is the Moody at 7.68 kilowatt hours, or 640 amp hours. That's followed by the Dufour at 5.76 kilowatt hours, the Swan at 5.52 kilowatt hours, and then finally the Hanse at 4.56. Okay, getting into performance indicators, sail area to displacement, or the indicator on power. Looking across here, it's the Swan. No big surprise there, 22.7. The next one up is a bit of a surprise, and that's the Hanse at 20. And then you've got the Dufour at 18.1 and the Moody at 17.4. Then displacement to hull length at the waterline, or an indicator of heaviness. In this case, it's the lightest number wins, and it's the Dufour at 147.7, followed by the Hanse at 154.4, the Nador Swan at 156.4, and then the Moody, the big girl here, at 222.6. On this, we're looking at Bruce numbers for an indicator of overall speed, and it's the Swan and the Hanse tied at 1.2, and the Dufour and the Moody at 1.1. If you're enjoying the content, please take a moment to hit the subscribe button. Then share the channel with a couple of friends and hit the like button. It's free and it really helps the channel. You can also join our crew on Patreon, where you can enjoy ad-free viewing as well as downloads of the Excel specification and PowerPoint layout comparisons while helping the channel for a few bucks a month. You can find a link to the Naval Gazing at Camp David Patreon channel in the description below, where you can also click to receive information on some really cool virtual sailing training. Okay, hopping on board, what would Sylvia say? Well, I think Sylvia would like this vessel. Not as big as some of the ones we've looked at, but it is very comfortable, and especially with this hard top on it. I absolutely love the hard tops on the Hanses and on the Jeannots. I think they're a fantastic advantage. Really give a sense of security and comfort, and then because they're that C shape, you've got the retractable center section, so I can really easily slide it back and keep an eye on my sails. Now, of the bunch, probably Jeannot on the 60 was the best because it's a little narrower at the aft, allowing me simply to take one step to the side and I can quickly peer up and see my sails. I find that Hanse's hardtop is a little wider than the Jeannot and makes it a little more challenging. I have to lean a little further, but you can easily swing that, slide that center section in and have a good look. She's a handsome, handsome vessel. Okay, let's do some naval gazing here. The lazy rack is a system to manage the mainsail when it's not on a boom or a furling mast. The system can be installed on all booms using the slide rail underneath. 4 articulated rigid arms ensure the holding of a canvas completed by rushes, managed by a single rope that can be brought back to the cockpit or helm station. This lazy rack opens by slackening the end when hoisting the mainsail. This way, the lazy racks are well spread out, which prevents the battens from getting caught in them. When sailing, the rope is tightened and the lazy rack is placed neatly on the sail. This eliminates any clutter and dunnage, even on a reefed mainsail. Finally, when it's time to lower the mainsail, the lazy rack opens naturally by shocking its maneuver, and the mainsail naturally finds its place inside this large receptacle, held open by the rigid arms without any manual intervention or acrobatics. A flap is placed on top with the clips, the end of which are leaded straps to be easily thrown over the sail, even if it's high. Inside, the sail is totally protected from UV. This system, which is mainly intended for large units or catamarans, is starting to be marketed. It costs about 3,900 euros for a 46-foot boat. Okay, back on board, having a look down the side here, you can see some of the visitors enjoying that beautiful sun mat out on the foredeck there. Again, nice, big, beamy aft here, lots of space. And although you can't see it here, you have that garage. You also have under that center seat a lovely barbecue and kitchen station. You can see easy access to the side decks here, nice big winches. All electric, everything led right back to the helm station here. Very, very comfortable. And that absolutely gorgeous hardtop with the center retractable section. Really, really nicely executed with integrated lighting in there to really make it super comfortable. And of course, you've got canvas that you can completely isolate this entire area enclosed if you're doing some northern cruising or it's really nasty weather in the tropics. All your controls here at the helm pedestal, lots of real estate on the pedestal to house some nice big chart plotters. I love the split table. I would put a high gloss varnish on that, but I do love that easy access straight down the companionway into the saloon. I really am not a big fan of the central tables. And you can see the upholstery here, beautifully done. Nice areas for stowage up here, just under the protection of the spray hood and the integrated front windshield. Nice easy steps down in. You can go down forward very comfortably. And here you can see that unique layout. Like I said, not generally a massive fan of the lateral galley, but this is nice. And look, they've taken a lesson out of, I think that's the Jeanneau 57, where that drop-down area there in the seat of the settee allows for drinks and a nice little table. Well-appointed aft berths here. I'm not a huge fan of wasting this beautiful aft beam on two berths. I'd rather have an aft cabin option, but there you go. They've done a really neat thing here. You can see the amount of space you've got in this galley, and you're wondering, well, where's my nav station? Where's all my radios and such? Well, they're right in that center section facing the galley, believe it or not. There's a piece of that lifts up, and all your radios and your plotters and whatnot are under there, so that you get the full expanse of that central interior salon area, giving you a feeling of luxury and almost, condo-like environment. Lots of counter space here, good handholds all the way down. You got handholds on the sides of the doors, handholds on the island, and lots of seating space here, quite comfortable. I would certainly hope to have some kind of a folding table option there so I could get it a little further out of the way and not have to sit at the dining room table all the time. But your settee does extend beyond it to give you a sense of that. As you can see, leather-wrapped hardware, beautifully done. And here is your master stateroom, really, nicely done. Lots of headroom, lots of light from those hull ports. And you've got indirect lighting. You just see a touch of that below the bed. Beautiful, lots and lots of beautiful skylights and opening vents in the ceiling. Really, really well done. Here's your head, nice separate head and separate shower. Well done that way. There's your separate shower on this side over here. Overall, nicely done. Typical Hanse. It's starting to feel a little more refined in their finish work. It's not the finish work. That's not the word I'm looking for. It's the way they lay things out. At times, they would lay things out so it felt exceptionally wide open. Which is a little frightening in a monohull. I would prefer if there were some ceiling handholds. You can see there's handholds all the way along the island, but I would prefer that there were something on the roof similar to the Moody's of old, where you could grab on those if you're going into a big heel. But you can see as you head up to the helms here, you do have lots of handholds along the tables in the cockpit area there. And it's an easy step onto the side decks. They're not overly wide. There is a nice gunnel to them, nice handholds all the way down the hardtop, which is a real advantage. And of course, loads of space up there for solar. Heading up here, you got some lovely factory sun pads with integrated cup holders. I think that's beautifully done. And then you've got a flip back so you can still open that sunroof there in your main saloon when you want to. Loads of space up front here. I do wish every manufacturer on monohulls would start offering at least an option of solid safety rails similar to ML and indeed the Moody's. The modern Moody's, but you've got loads of space here. I mean, you could even put an additional sun pad here as you little on the forward raised cabin top there as well. Really nicely done. Either that or slide in some of those really funky solar panels, the flexible solar panels from Solban that look like teak decking. Anyways, you can see how comfortable this would be if you had your clears and your canvas on here and you were in a inclement weather. It would be really, really comfy. So easy step up and then down in here. And again, there's your kitchen, galley on the outside. Okay, let's look at some pre-owned comparables. As you recall, we look at sail away and we assume it's the base price of the boat plus 50%. So our sail away comparative on this is $756,237 US dollars. And our first up we're comparing this to is a 2021 Hanse 508, and they're looking for $584,000, so about $600,000 versus $756,000 for the new boat. I myself would take the new boat, especially given the hardtop on this one. Next up is a Jeanneau 54 from 2020, 4-year-old boat, lovely boat. They're looking for $669,000 versus $756,000 for the brand new Hanse. Again, for a bunch of different reasons, I'd take the new Hanse, although I like the layout of the 54 better. Next up, we're looking at a 22 Elan Impression 50.1. They're looking for $478,000, $500,000 for a 2-year-old Elan Impression. I like this boat, but reasonable price. You're looking at about $300,000 less. I'd have to look at this one real careful. I mean, if I had the bucks, I'd prefer the Hanse. And finally, we're looking at an 018. So a 6-year-old boat is a Beneteau Oceanus 51-1, and they're asking $505. In this case, there's no doubt I would take the Hanse over this. Okay, we're looking at Monohull Puritan Purgatory. We're going to compare this lovely monohull to some catamaran options. First up is the Nautical 44 Open. It's a 22, so a 2-year-old boat. They are asking $735,000 versus our $756,000. I'm afraid I'd have to do the Nautical 44 Open. It's not my ideal in a cat, and but it is a beautifully done one, and especially if it's in their sort of a walnut finish. Next up, we're looking at a 21 Lagoon 42 3-year-old boat. They're asking $700,000 versus our $756 for the brand new Hanse. Sorry, the Lagoon would win out on this one. Next up, we're looking at an 019 Fountain Peugeot Astrea 42. They're looking for $526,000. Once again, the cat would win out on this one. And finally, we're looking at an 18 Bali 4.3. You've got the big opening back door, all that good stuff for $531,000. I'm sorry, the cats get a clean sweep on this one. Okay, we're looking at the Dave score. How did she do? Well, down we go, down. Oh, there she is. So she did not too bad, overall. You're looking at interior elegance. I'd give it a 7, about the same as like a Neil 52. The exterior, I give it an 8, especially with the hardtop. The interior comfort, I'm going to give it a 7. And exterior comfort, I'm going to give it a 7 as well. It doesn't have a fly bridge like a Neil or something like that, but it does have lots of beautiful space, and that hardtop makes it so comfy. Quality, I'll give it an 8. Hanse builds a decent boat, and it's a vinyl ester hull. Performance, give it a 5. It's a monohull, so it's not going to be screaming along. Lazy sailor, definitely a 7, maybe an 8. Everything comes very neatly back to the helms. In a condo, I'll give it a 7. It's not big enough to really have a condo feel, but what they've done in the 590 looks pretty interesting. Geek, I'm going to give it an 8. It's a cool looking boat, that reverse bow, the hardtop, all that good stuff. The crane for the dinghy garage, it's pretty geeky. And value for the money, I'm going to give it a solid 7, so we're looking at 71 out of 100 for the brand new Hanse 510. Well, that's our waves, wine, art, and ideas for one more week. I know it's a monohull, so there's probably people out there squirming, and I know one or two that are going to say, no way, Dave, not this monohull. But guys, they're doing some innovative things. It's interesting, especially on the monohull side. They're starting to fight back against the wave of catamarans with the innovative Jeanneau 55, and now this 510. And when you have a quick look at the Hanse 590, you can see some preliminary renders on the Hanse UK site. They're doing some cool stuff. So I'm going to leave you this week then with German expressionist Oscar, the last name, Kokoschka, something like that. Venice Dogana. I think it's an absolutely lovely painting and really representative of that German artistry and expressionism, exactness with a little artistic flair, much like the Hanse itself. Have a great week. We'll see you back here next week. Cheers.